Hey everybody, welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast, and we are coming to you from Espacio 1839 here in Boyle Heights. Don't forget to go to your computers and visit espacio1839.com to put some orders in, or come visit them in person at 1839 East 1st Street, right down the street from the Mariachi Plaza. Don't forget that we are listener supported, and if you would like to send us something, you can do so through Venmo at DANCNG SOBR. That's at DANCNG SOBR, just like the way I spell the podcast name. This week we have an artist coming to us all the way from Long Beach, el señor Narsiso Martinez. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast, and today here in the studio at Espacio we have the artist, el señor Narsiso Martinez. Narciso, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, gracias.
Good. So Narciso, talk to me a little bit. How are you? Let's get to know you. This is the first time that we meet in person, you and I. Oh no, actually we met at Charlie James once.
But I think we met at Mola.
Mola, did we?
Mm-hmm. They had an opening over there.
Briefly though, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, briefly. Oh yeah, I do remember now in the back. But I did meet you at Charlie James once, I think. Anyways. But this is the first time we actually have a conversation. So welcome. And here at this podcast, we like to start a little bit with the background of the artist. So let's learn. We'd like to learn a little bit about Narciso and where you were born and kind of a young man made you what you are today.
Okay. Well, I was born in this small town called Santa Cruz Paparutla, back in Oaxaca, Mexico. I don't know, I guess life was really rough when I was growing up. It was a lot of the families were poor families. I don't know.
¿Qué tipo de pueblito era? Like?
Pues un pueblito zapoteco, I guess. Un pueblito zapoteco de como... Zapoteco. No sé cuánto es la población, pero me acuerdo que eran como, nomás como 4 cuadras.
Wow.
Por like 2 cuadras. O algo así.
Wow.
Todo el mundo se conocía con todo el mundo.
Okay.
Used to go to the fields since early age. Mis papás me llevaban a la fuerza, pero me llevaban mis hermanos. Conforme iba creciendo y cuidaba vacas, chivos, que me acuerdo que mi hermano con esa más grande pudo comprar. Y pues no era muy bueno para la escuela. Me recuerdo que...
¿Cuántos eran en tu familia?
Well, we're 4 brothers and 2 sisters. And I know it's hard to like remember a lot of things because I actually haven't remembered these things since right now.
Okay.
But yeah, we have 4 brothers, 2 sisters. I don't know. I guess I was saying I would go to school. I was not very good at school.
What do you think? What were your problems at school, or how do you? Why is
everything was bad at school? Like I don't know why, but I feel like I got behind. You know, like when you go to, I feel like when you go to 1st grade, 2nd grade, if you don't get the materials, like you fall behind. Especially
if you miss a little bit in one, it's hard to go on to the next one.
It accumulates, and that's how I felt like that's all my problem. And I didn't know until I got older and I went to school here, and I was like, okay, this was my problem. So yeah, it was difficult because the pressure of school, getting good grades or whatever, and I was the youngest of the men. So they sort of like have expectations, like they would do anything for me to go to school, and I was not doing any good. So it was difficult, yeah.
Because you had older brothers and sisters that would help you with things that you might need, but you still had to do the schoolwork.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you weren't coming through with the schoolwork. Huh. Was in the school, was it near your house or?
It was until 6th grade.
Yeah.
And then from 7th grade to 8th grade, I had to go to a different town. And then I went to even further town to get to do like the 9th grade or the 8th grade. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, from 7 to 9th, I went to a different town, and I further away to do 10th grade to the high school, but I didn't finish it because I got kicked out in the first semester, the first year.
¿Por estar peleando?
No, actually I got kicked out because I got more than 3 classes failed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was too many. So.
Man, so it was difficult then.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Well, sometimes without the structure, you know, were other people in your family, had they gone to school too, and no? So.
No, I have a brother who was older than I who actually finished high school.
Okay.
But that was it.
Yeah. Y se fue y no te ayudó.
No. And then my sister, I have a younger sister who actually also finished high school.
Oh, okay, that's good. Tell me a little bit about growing up in your town. Like, what are some of the fun things that you would do, or
fun?
Some of the things that you get in trouble with?
I wish I can remember fun things. I feel like everything was like work. And because I didn't like to work, it was rough for me because you know, my parents wanted me to work, my older brothers wanted me to work.
So what kind of work would you have to do at that age?
It was mostly field work,
Out
like
there
going
too,
to help in the fields, go get the grass for the for the donkey, for the sheep, for the cow. I just didn't want to do it, but I had to. And then eventually, when I had to go to school, I had to go to the fields first and then go to school. It was it was bad, and like.
So you would have to wake up early, go do some work, and then go to school.
And go to school, yeah.
And then come home, and was there work after?
Of course, then I'll get home, eat something, and then go take care of the sheep, go to the fields again. And dude, I remember this time, I don't know if it's trouble though, maybe it's not, it's like something sad, I guess. Now I see it sad because no kids should go through this. I remember going to the fields to get the grass and ocupamos a hoces. I don't know if you know what that is. Like you know the symbol of communism, the sickle and the hammer or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The sickle, right? Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sickle,
So I used that tool to cut the grass.
Yeah.
And then I was really in a hurry because it was in the morning. I had to catch the bus, and then I cut my thumb. Like it was really bad. But I just wrapped like a piece of cloth in it, and then I just kept working, and then I finished, and I went to school, and my finger was kind of cross.
It was cut across. You still have it?
Yeah. No. My nail fell off because the cut was kind of deep. But nobody seems to care, you know. Like my parents weren't home. I just had to do what I had to do and go to school. It was just sad, no, because no kids should go through that stuff. And so yeah, I don't know if that counts as a trouble, but
no, I mean it's a good story.
it's a story.
Yeah, I mean it's I did a little bit of the fields out here in acá in Central California. When I was 12, they had me working in the onion fields in the summers.
Okay.
Y una vez, I don't remember, I couldn't see anybody in front of me, I couldn't see anybody behind me. I felt like I was out there alone, and I was just cutting and cutting onions, cutting and cutting onions. And I just kept drinking water, and somehow, I don't know if I drank too much water, if it was the sun, but I just threw up. I was throwing up. Out there by myself, just throwing up a bunch of water. And like, there was nobody around either. It's like, that just reminded me of that little story that I went through. I didn't, of course, I would come home, I would go over there for only 2 weeks and then come home back to East LA, so I didn't have it that difficult. But I did experience, working out there for 2 weeks at a time in the summers when I was like 12. Yeah. Anyways,
yeah, trabajar en el campo es difícil, man.
Yeah, that's just one of my little stories. ¿Y qué más? What else kind of work? There had to be something else you could do out there, no? Or
growing up? Yeah. No, I think that's about it. Field work and more field work. Kids go to the fields and take care of the sheep, cows. I guess it's the fun, you get together in the fields and then just play there while you take care of your sheep.
How big was your family, you said?
I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
4 brothers and 2 sisters,
Yeah.
And everybody worked in the fields?
In the fields.
Those family
my
owned
dad's a musician.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they do own land, but it's like, I don't know, it's very different because they own small plots of land like everywhere. It's so tiny.
Yeah,
but
just enough to kind of stay alive, right? You're not really making money.
Exactly, and it's all like seasonal. Maybe it has changed now, but not back then.
Is there anything that you remember that from being young that you could share with us that could be something that led you to wanting to come to the United States, or how did that start to happen?
I feel like it's very cultural. I mean, it was, at least when I was growing up, it was very cultural. I remember
like common thing that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, people like kids come to the U.S. like I guess teenager, like young teenagers or adult teenagers, 19, 20. You know, they'll come to the U.S., go back. Maybe as early as 16. I think I knew some guys who would come when they were like 15, 16 years old, and they would go back to the fairs, and they would bring nice things to wear. And kids growing up, because it's a poor community, we want that for us. We aspire to that for the fair and wear nice shoes and nice pants. So it's just like something cultural. When you grow up older, like 15, 16, it seems like that's the next step.
That's like the age where you feel like you can do it for yourself now. You don't have to worry. You don't have to listen to your parents anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because, at that age, kids go and help their parents in the fields. They work on their own. If they are brave enough, they'll venture into the cities and look for work. I know it's different now because I know a lot of the kids now go to college and have college degrees in my hometown. But growing up, probably one or two from my generation went to school, and got a degree. And I don't know, and I don't know. I just don't want to say like it was because of they have connections. But in general, a lot of my kids from my generation didn't even finish 6th grade. It was hard, and so like when you get that age, you just want better things. You're young, you're a young man. You want to impress the girls or whatever. People. You want to wear nice clothes and you want to look nice. So where's the money? So you look for the older generation.
I'm just trying to dig for stories here. So is there something that when you weren't working and you weren't in school, is there something that you did for fun? Just to travesuras or something? Did you have friends you'd hang out with? Stuff like that?
Sadly, I didn't. I had a few friends, but I feel like I was more like one of those kids that are on their own.
So you stayed home a lot, worked, and...
Yeah, pretty much.
Calladito. Ahí está Narciso, calladito.
I like to draw. I think that's one of the things that...
When did you start that?
I don't remember, but I have memories since early age that I just do stuff, like scribbles or sketch people on paper, just with like pencil, and I remember like...
Sin instrucción, you just started to draw.
Yeah.
Without being prompted, did anybody tell you, hey, draw this? Or
no one.
You just on your own?
Yeah, I just on my own.
And nobody in your family did it?
No one in my family did it. No.
Huh.
Well, I guess my older brothers who go to la secundaria, like secondary school. I remember seeing like one of my oldest brothers having a portrait of Frida Kahlo. The one with the Diego Rivera on the forehead. And I remember that. I didn't know who she was, so what the drawing was about. I just remember seeing them on the notebook, and I think those are the earliest memories of art. And I remember seeing a textbook, like a cover of a textbook, Diego Rivera's part of a mural. I didn't know it was Diego Rivera also. I just knew it was like kind of cool to see this
connection,
indigenous man on the textbook. And I guess those are my earliest memories of art. And it must have been like 4th grade when there was an assignment to actually do a painting. But it was different. It was like a painting, and everybody does like at the end of the school year, everyone does like a piece of artwork, mostly paintings on ¿cómo se dice en inglés? Fibracel. It's like plywood. But
plywood.
Okay. The brown one.
Yeah. And those pedacitos that it's material board kind of.
Yeah. So everyone does like a painting for the end of the school year, and I remember we didn't have money for paintings, so I had to like. No sé cómo se dice en inglés, pero le hacía la barba a mi primo, because he had money. He was better off.
Le hacía la barba translates into like you used to like build them up, like hey, you look good or something.
Right. So he would let me use his painting.
Oh, okay. And so he would let you use his paint brushes and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And I remember painting a dog.
Oh, okay.
Obviously I traced it, but I did paint it. And so that's the only, I think, kind of actually artwork that kind of looks like artwork. But that's
you were a kid.
Yeah.
How little were you?
Well, I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, that's very small.
And
I'm surprised you still remember that. That's.
Well, I think I remember it mostly because of the hassle I had to go through to get the paint and the materials to do the painting.
Como en tu cabeza, you're like, tengo que hacer esto. And the only way to do it is to
Yeah.
hustle my cousin.
I really wanted to paint, I really wanted to paint. I only had like pens, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it would come out like, okay, I guess. But yeah, I remember drawing someone in the same class, 4th grade, had like an album. It was one of those coloring books. I didn't know it was a coloring book because I never saw one, or nobody saw one. But he was laying around a coloring book, and he has a lot of illustrations of animals. And I remember stealing one page, which is a pigeon. And I drew that pigeon like so many times, just because I was so in love with like how it looked, the line work, the pigeon. But anyways, yeah. And after that, I think I did. I just drew people.
Wow. I like that story. Just like how natural it just comes, like the desire to like continue to like try to like you would do it once, right? But you're like, I think I could fix that part a little more in the next one, fix it a little more in the next one, over and over. That desire to do that, so it just came naturally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's this obsession, Yeah, I did a bunch of drawings. I don't know what they were, sketches. I didn't know they were sketches. For me, they were like my drawings. This is what it is.
¿A quién se los enseñabas?
And pretty much a nadie. I would show them to the people that I would.
If you drew them, you show.
Yeah, although, hey, look, and people would laugh obviously because they were like funny looking drawings.
Yeah, it's funny to see yourself.
And I think I like that. I like that people were happy. Or maybe it was just me feeling like I was good at something, because I wasn't good at school. It was depressing. School was really depressing. I would just like my dad would make me cry for not learning the lessons, But I think drawing was a whole different thing, It was the opposite of going to school.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I liked, and I kept drawing.
Nice. So when was it that you like realized that this is something you were gonna do, and did you start to do it in school more? I mean, you're like now did you finish high school in Mexico?
No, I kicked out at 9. So
at 9th grade.
Yeah, but I do remember like doing drawings from books, copy drawings from illustrations that I find in textbooks.
So I don't know yet, but I imagine that then from there, something brought you to the United States before you really started to dive into studying art. Yeah. No,
that was way after, when I actually thought I could do art as a career.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit then. What was it that finally like pushed you to leave Mexico?
I think it was just like what I mentioned. Like people just wanted a better life, and I think just like anybody else,
did you have a final like decision one day where something made you like click?
Like I remember going to school and being kicked out, and I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my parents I was not going to school anymore.
Well, how does that happen? How did they kick you out without? They just said ya no regreso?
Well, because it was high school, you're supposed to be like an adult or whatever. So they don't have to. They don't have to have the parents' consent.
Wow.
So they just told me like I couldn't enroll anymore because I failed more than 3 classes. So I guess ironically, I also failed drawing. But only because I love that. But only because I didn't turn all the work.
Oh, okay.
That was supposed to be the final.
Yeah.
And because school was so far away, like an hour on the bus, and then the buses doesn't run. I think the buses would run only once every hour, so it was just like there's no way I would go back home and get my drawings.
On your own doing all these things, so it's not
basically
yeah, it's difficult.
But yeah, I didn't tell my parents, but I kept going to school, quote unquote. And then when the winter break kicked in.
Where were you going during those days when you were telling them?
Oh, I was just like hanging out with all the other classmates
other guys that didn't go to school.
Yeah, that's when I learned how to smoke.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I waited until the winter break to tell my parents. Obviously, they get mad at me, but they couldn't do anything. And I was just wandering around. I had different jobs. I worked at a metal shop with my godfather, and then with my dad. And then.
How old were you at this time?
I was probably like 15, 16. And then. Yeah, and then my brothers came. They were already here in the U.S. working in fields, and they went back. They would go back every season, and so I remember that when they came back, they saw me just doing nothing. They just like, why don't you go to the U.S. And just actually work? And then that was it. And then I remember my neighbor was about to also leave for the U.S. So I just asked him if he could take me.
¿Y cómo estuvo ese pasaje?
Well, I don't want to go into detail, but it took me a month to cross.
Wow.
It took me a month. So I don't know. I feel like during that period I met a lot of people who also were trying to cross the border and they couldn't cross the border, and they would get discouraged and then go back to Mexico or stay and like settle in Tijuana. But for some reason I just wanted to come to the US.
Just had the drive.
Just stubborn, yeah.
It was your destiny.
It was my destiny.
So you make it to the United States. Did you land in Los Angeles or? Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that? Like the beginning, the first year, the first month, the first week?
Well, it was really rough because culture, right? Culture was very different, because I didn't like the food. I was like, what do you mean there's no tortillas?
¿Cómo que no? ¿Sí hay tortillas? Oh, you would order food, but there was no tortillas in some restaurants.
Well, no, because I didn't go to restaurants, but I stayed with my brother and his family. So when they would cook, they would cook, and they would be tortillas, but they were the little ones.
Yeah.
I was used to the big ones. I was like, what do you mean? I don't like these tortillas.
That's funny.
It was kind of hard, and but I guess like everything we get used to.
Yeah. Made some changes. You started working.
Well, my brother was really nice. He said, "Don't work, just chill." For like.
Well, that's good.
Take whatever you need to take for you to adjust, and then we'll look for a job.
That's really good.
Yeah, no, he's really nice. And
because you needed that period to really like let your brain settle, right?
Yeah, because it was a culture shock.
Yeah.
And so there was this during that week that I was just doing nothing. There was this man who was I don't know, apparently he's my dad's friend, but he knew my brother, and my brother was like, there's this man who would like to take you to recycle cardboard. So that was his job apparently. He would go and to the back of the restaurants or whatever and collect all the cardboard. And he took me with him once. And the first day that he took me, we had a whole load of cardboard, and he got pulled over by the police. Because I don't know what the problem was. I don't know if he didn't have a driver's license or he didn't have one of those registration thing that goes in the back of the car or whatever. I can't remember. I was new. I didn't know anything. But the sad part is that he kind of blamed it on me because I was wearing a hat.
What?
I know. And like he was saying like cholos wear hats or something like that, and that's why we got pulled over. And I was like no, like I didn't know what cholos wear, like I didn't know. Like,
you were barely stepping out of the house.
And like later on, of course, I was analyzing the thing. I was like, dude, this was messed up.
That's funny.
But anyways, eventually, I think the good thing I did was that I went to school. Like within the first week that I arrived, I told my brother I want to go to school.
Okay.
And he took me to Hollywood High.
Well, that's interesting because even though you had like all the struggles that you had in Mexico with school, you were like, I'm gonna attempt this. Let's get this right. Yeah,
but it was mainly because I really wanted to know the movies and the songs. I wanted to know what the songs were saying.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think that was my drive. I didn't want to have an education. I didn't know anything.
So you were watching TVs at home. You were like, what the hell are they saying?
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna go to school so I can learn what these people are saying here. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
That was a drive for me. And I told my brother, and he took me to Hollywood High, which was maybe a few blocks from where he lived. And and I started going to school at nighttime from 6 to 9:45 probably.
That's cool, man. And how was that experience of night school and learning learning English and?
Well, it was exciting. I mean, I felt like a kid, like when they give you a bunch of flashcards to learn how to say like tomato or an apple or a table, I'm like, holy shit! Like I feel like a kid that know what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those.
So
kids
you had
that
like
are,
an advantage.
yeah,
like
those kids that are super
advantage.
smart when they are in,
Yeah.
in first grade or whatever. That's how I feel. Like,
Oh.
that's probably what those kids feel like. You know, because they know what
Yeah.
they're saying, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, something about it's the process of decoding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in code, but once you start to learn the code, then you get that magic feeling, you know, as a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so now, were you into drawing yet again, or did you just randomly start, or?
No, I never stopped drawing.
Okay.
I always drew. Like even when I'm maybe within the first week or months that I got here, I was doing drawings. I was copying celebrities. Like I was doing portraits of celebrities, and
I'm trying to imagine. So Narciso living in Hollywood in a small apartment, just drawing drawings.
Yeah, no.
Just stuffing them in an envelope in a folder, just saving them in your
You know,
drawer.
I don't even know where those drawings are. I have some because within maybe a month or so, I left my brother's apartment and I went, because he got me a job at a tire shop. And then at this tire shop, I met a mechanic who had a space where he was living. Right? So I moved in there was other two. There was a mechanic, the other mechanic, and then me. Three living in that apartment, and it was more independent. And it was literally like across the street from the mechanic shop. So I was drawing. I remember drawing even the mechanic shop, like the whole block. That was funny. But yeah, no, I think I never
Pero
stopped.
siempre refinando, like, your skill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was always like the next one will be better. And it's funny because just the other day when I moved, I found some of the old drawings and they're really bad. And I thought I was really good.
I think we always feel that way when we look at old stuff.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's interesting. I would love to see those one day.
I think my problem was the nose.
Your what?
The nose. I always drew the nose very tiny.
Interesting. And so, how did you grow from that then? From like being at home drawing your block and your surroundings, what pushed you to the next level?
Well, I think it was. It's interesting because now there is like, well, I didn't know how to draw somebody. Like, I didn't know how to ask somebody to stay still for me to draw. So I just drew from magazine. I thought it was easier. Growing up, I didn't have any magazine. I didn't have access to any magazines. I remember going maybe in maybe in 8th grade or 9th grade. That's when I like started having access to magazines like I don't know, telenovelas or whatever. But you can see actually portraits of celebrities. I remember cutting all those portraits, collaging them, making some drawings of them. But here, I think I think I started drawing celebrities here. Or was it in Mexico? I think it was here. And at some place, I found these black and white. It was in a magazine. It was a catalog of photographs, and they have nudes in there. That was probably the first time I started drawing nudes. It was more challenging because it was the whole body, and then it was exciting when I would see the results. I was like, holy shit, I can do this. And yeah, that was the next level.
So it was like a catalog for underwear or something like that, or
no, it was an actual
just photos
like
for
a
drawing.
Professional photographer whose name I can't remember.
Oh,
I think I still have the catalog, but it was an actual catalog. I don't know if I found it at one of those secondhand stores, but it was actually photographs, professional.
So that's when you started to draw the whole figure.
I was just copying. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's try to get to what was the next step then after you did that? How did you do in high school, first of all?
High school. How did I do high school? Well, you jumped like all the way from ESL to high school, which was like, I mean, I know it's like in a second.
Oh, you're right.
But
I'm sorry. You were going to night school, so it wasn't high school exactly.
Yeah, it took many years to get to high school.
Yeah.
Well, it was well after I started at Hollywood High, and I was working at the mechanic shop at the same time, I would go in the evenings, right? And my boss said I couldn't go in the evenings anymore because, in the summers it get dark later on. So we still have customers at 4, at 6, it was still daylight. So she didn't want me to leave to go to school because, she said we still have customers.
She needs you, yeah.
But she gave me a better solution. She was like, why don't you go in the mornings to this other school, which have classes, and then stay as late as I want to be open. Yeah. So we did that. I transferred from Hollywood High to Evans Community Adult School here in LA, and that was even better because I started school like at 6 in the morning, I think, and then go to work like at 10, and I would just stay the whole day. But Evans gave me the opportunity to do high school because after many years, obviously, of the ESL, I told one of my teachers that I really wanted to retake the whole ESL because I was not speaking English yet. Even though I was good at writing, making paragraphs or whatever, but I couldn't speak it. And my solution was to retake the whole program again.
Wow.
And my teacher was like, no, just take more classes, like enroll in high school. And so that's what I did. I enrolled in high school, and that's when I really got into learning, like wanting to learn.
So you went back to like a regular high school, but how old were you?
No, I didn't go to a regular high school. They had an adult program at Evans.
Oh, okay.
It was the same at the same school.
Nice.
Yeah, and I guess because it was, I don't know if you know, but like adult education was more like contracts.
Yeah. You have to do you have to finish a certain contract, then start the next one.
Yeah, and I did it on my own pace. Nobody was pushing me,
Yeah.
So I would I would take my time to really dissect what the problem was and like come up with a solution, and especially with math,
Yeah.
And I started like dividing with little sticks and little rocks and multiplying. I didn't even know how to subtract when I left Mexico.
Wow.
That's how bad I was. So because I was an adult, I guess I was more like focused and more patient.
You had a different intent.
Yeah, and I had the courage to ask questions.
Yeah.
And understand from the beginning. And that's how I did it. And then next thing you know, I really want to take more classes like history. I didn't know anything about like Chicano culture or like even my own culture, like Mexican history. I didn't know anything. I learned everything here, and I was so amazed. It was holy shit. So yeah, that's when I got interested in high school and in learning really. And yeah, politics, the history of the U.S. When I learned about slavery, I was crying, and I was old already, because I had no idea, man. And
wow.
So yeah, it was it was amazing to learn all these things, and the fact that I understood it was even more amazing. Yes,
you taught yourself to understand it. So.
Yeah, it was amazing. So yeah,
that's determination right there.
Yeah, it took me forever, but I finally finished my high school in 2006. I was 29.
That just makes your journey, knowing all this now makes your journey to me just so much more impressive, to know that you went through all that just to learn the language, and then still continued and ended up going to Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach, right?
Yeah. But I also think that it has a lot to do with first I didn't understand the material, right? But it's also like there's no, I guess growing up there were no role models, I couldn't see anybody like that was doing something that I wanted to do when I grew up. And this culture that we have in at least in my direct, I guess, surroundings growing up, it was always negative, like if you don't know how to do something, then you're done, instead of like, okay, let's try this way, or let's try the other way. Or I never heard like, yes, you can, it was always, oh, you're done, you're like, so it was, so hearing all these positive comments from my teachers, I think that made me believe that I was capable of doing these things, and that's what pushed me to work hard and try it out. Yeah.
The positive reinforcement. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So how was it that you decided then to continue and go to college? What was it that pushed you? Was it
Well, as soon as I understood that I was capable of doing things,
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I remember I was bussing tables at restaurants, and I remember seeing my coworkers. I remember have like two older coworkers, and one was like kind of old, and he was still like bussing tables. And in my head, I was like, I don't want to be like that. You know, I don't want. I guess there's no. Sometimes you do things right. You use your choices that you make in life, and then there's no way back. So you have to do what you have to do to support your family, you know, or keep with your plans, whatever. But in my head, I was like, I still don't have kids, you know. I still can like go to school, have a career, and maybe try a different lifestyle. So that's what I did. I was like, I want to go to school. I want to have a career, and I didn't know which career. I just wanted to have a career, and so yeah, that's what I decided to do, and that's why after I finished high school, I talked to my counselors, and then they sent me to Los Angeles City College to take more classes.
Okay, LACC is a nice school. I like that place.
Yeah, no, I was lucky to have all these mentors, you know, who like guided me. And at that time, I didn't know how to use a computer. I didn't know how to fill out paperwork, you know.
Yeah.
And these mentors, like these advisors, helped me like step by step, you know. And they would explain me, and sometimes I would just pretend that I would understand, even though I didn't understand. But at the end of the day, I was enrolled, you know, and I was in, and I was shown to class. And just now it's my turn to just work really hard to get good grades, you know. And that's what I did. I just worked really hard, and the goal was to really understand the materials and to have good grades so that we can ensure a career.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember like having a bunch of flashcards, just going over and over again before the test. I remember busing tables in Santa Monica City. I would take the bus from Santa Monica to downtown LA. At this point, I was not working at the mechanic shop anymore. After the mechanic shop, I worked at a plastic factory somewhere in Chatsworth, and then I worked at a metal shop somewhere in Highland Park, and then I worked at a produce warehouse, and then I worked as a busboy. But at this point, I was working as a busboy, and the bus would take like an hour or so to get to downtown LA, and then another hour, or maybe less than an hour, maybe like 20 minutes.
But
From
that was all study
downtown
time.
To Highland Park, but it was all study time. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was just tired, but like whenever I remembered like I had a test, I was like, holy shit, I have to.
Did you take art classes at LECC?
I did, but not until the very end, because first, you know, I was so good, right? And then at my classes, that when it was time for me to pick a career, I thought I wanted to be a math teacher or a biologist. And when they invited me to work as a lab assistant for the biology department, I was so excited, but I couldn't work because I didn't have documents. So that was a really disappointing thing. That I thought like, what's the point of going to school if I can't work? But then I was inspired by Van Gogh and Millet, all those paintings of farm workers or life in the fields. That in my head I was like, maybe I can just learn how to draw and paint better, you know, because the whole point was to better my drawing skills at the end. Because I like drawings. I've been doing drawings like all the time. But when I saw all this artwork in the art history class, they were so good, you know, and my art was like really bad. And I was like, maybe I can just go to art school and I can better my drawing skill. I can learn how to paint because I never painted before. And since I can't work, I can just go to my hometown and paint my neighbors, you know, my grandparents or whatever in the fields. I thought that was the idea. Or I can do art anywhere I go, you know, I don't need documents. And that's the one that encouraged me to go to art school.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were almost forced into the path that was your destiny. Nothing else seemed to open up for you, and it was like the only thing that like presented itself as a possibility at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I liked it. I liked
Yeah,
it
and it's something that
already.
you love, yeah.
I just didn't know like it could be a career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of us don't know anything about art. I mean, I didn't know anything about art when I was young either. So that's a really interesting route to get you to this point where you finally decided to go to study art. And how did that decision change you as a person? When you're like, now I'm studying art, like this math biology guy. I mean, you definitely learned all the skills of like studying and test taking and all that. That was excellent, right? To push you through this school system now. So that was some good tools that you picked up. And now you're at Cal State Long Beach. How's that?
Yeah, I was super excited, man. I didn't care spending all my money from busing tables and materials, all the pain that was like, because they give you a list of materials. If you don't have money, you can afford this. No, I'll go for the good stuff.
Okay.
I didn't care spending money on textbooks because it was not at the beginning. It was not just art, right? Because it was undergrad. I still had to take some general education classes, and so yeah, I was just pretty excited, man, to learn how to paint, how to draw, and I don't know. I was probably the lowest of the class, because a lot of the students already had like some kind of background in art. Either they took art in high school, like they were familiar with art, but I was just a total disadvantage. But no, I think the professors would see that I really was excited and that I really want my work to be done well. And so they will see the struggles in my art, so they like that, I guess. And at the end of the program, I feel like it was just very technical, like how to mix color, how to approach, how to create space, or how to see, especially when drawing a figure, how to see shapes in a figure, how to translate that to art, the perspectives of the figure. And I didn't know any of this. It was just like life-changing experience in terms of drawing. My drawings became like
learning
so much better.
Another language again.
Yeah.
Basically, right? I mean, you're learning to decode figures into shapes, and wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was mind-blowing. And when I graduated in 2012, I just like up to this point I was already had left passing tables, started working in the fields because I didn't have no money to pay for college, and when I finished in 2012, I went back to the fields because I still owe money, like to my family members, and worked for 3 more years. But I realized I was not speaking English yet. It was annoying, that I couldn't get my goal to I want to talk English. It was annoying, so I think in my head it was just resonating those words of my teachers that I just need to take more classes, and that's when I decided to go to graduate school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you took 3 years off, to work and to pay things off, and then still came back to get your master's. Yeah, let's go back a little bit to your undergrad, and I know because there's a lot of artists that have come out of Long Beach, and so they there's a professor over there that probably like helped you a lot or guided you a lot to this.
Yeah, it was because of one professor, Marie Thibault. She was I believe like she doesn't work there anymore because she retired. But she was an abstract painter. And I remember when I was doing that break, the 3-year period, I applied to a couple of other schools that I didn't hear back from, and so I went to visit my friends in Long Beach, and my friends took me to visit this professor again, right? And then we talked, and what's your life like, and I told her I wanted to go to grad school, but I applied. I never heard back from these schools, and I think she suggested I should apply to Cal State Long Beach. And I show her my all the work that I've been doing, because I never stopped painting. When I was in the fields, I would go out and do plein air studies, and so I had a bunch of work for my portfolio, and so I did apply, and then they got me in, and then I went back in 2015. Yeah.
These paintings that you were doing while you were out there, the plein air, and while you were working in the fields, is this like the beginning of the body of work that you have now?
I guess
cardboards
just no, because I did some a bunch of work on cardboard, but the first one I did on cardboard was right after I graduated in 2012 from undergrad, and that was because I had moved right after I graduated. I moved with my brother, and he had purchased a mattress, and then the mattress came with 2 huge pieces of cardboard, and I had it was probably like the first week I graduated. I had nothing to do, I was just chilling with my brother, and I was just, okay, I want to draw. So I saw this piece of cardboard, I pinned it on the wall in the kitchen, and I did this drawing on charcoal. And to me, I didn't see it as I didn't think whether it was a good drawing or a bad drawing. I just did it. And then maybe within a month after graduation, my drawing professor invited me to be a part of a show at Castelomage. And then I think I showed a couple of paintings, and we were missing one piece, right? And I told him, I have this drawing that I've been working on. Do you want to see it? And he said yes. So my friend and I drove to my brother's house, collected the drawing, and took it to the gallery. He liked it, and he liked it, and he even we even had a picture with a piece in the gallery. So for me, that was kind of like a validation, like it's okay to do drawings on cardboard. But it was just a plain cardboard, right? So when I was in those 3 years in the fields, I was using the Costco boxes, because my sister worked at Costco. I set my little studio in her garage, and then I would just cut out all the labels and use the center part of the box to do studies, either small painting or like charcoal drawings. So I did a bunch of those, and so when I went back to the graduate program, I didn't think of just drawing on cardboard boxes. I went back to doing oil paintings, because that's what I did. So like the last semester of undergrad.
How do you prep the cardboard?
I don't prep. I just open them and start drawing. Yeah, but I do seal the cardboard at the end.
Oh, okay. It's for longevity, right? Okay. I was wondering about that.
It kind of protects the charcoal too from falling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the ink, because sometimes the ink could chip off the cardboard.
Okay.
So with the gel,
so seca, and then it's like little pieces come off.
Or the what is it called? The gouache. Sometimes also, if it's too thick, it comes off.
Yeah.
So that's what I apply, some kind of gel that when it dries, it's kind of plastic.
And so that's how you started this journey of like using all these boxes and of fruit. And let's talk a little bit about your connections to the people that you paint. And these are people that you worked with for years, right?
Well, when I transferred to Castelomage in 2012, I stopped busting tables, right? And I didn't stop busting tables, but I wanted to stop going to school because I didn't have enough money to pay for school after the first semester. So that's when my brothers told me I should work in fields with them, and that's what I did. And since that semester, I just went back every season. And up to the graduate program, it was always about the money. So I would go because I needed money, right? And I would just follow my brother and his crew, and that was it. Just work anywhere he would take me and make money. But
excuse me.
But for the graduate program, I think that's when I sort of like wanted to know more about my coworkers. And I left my brother and I went to my own to get jobs. and that's when I kind of like interacted more with farm workers, and I learned that they were not only from Mexico, they were from other places like Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras. And
so when you worked with your brother's crew, it was just you and the crew. You're in, you're out,
and I didn't
really talk to them.
Yeah, I feel like I'm muy creído, no?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, yo voy a colegio and like I'm just here, you know? And I was just working. Like,
I speak English.
and I was just so serious and like, yeah, it was dumb, but not after. After I feel like I sort of like reconnected, you know, because I felt like we were in the same boat, you know.
Yeah.
We were all the same, and after that I started paying more attention to my surroundings, like the foreman, the owners, and like the orchards names and how many orchards of the company were within the same city, and why is it like they have opening orchards in other places, and farm workers live in like these ran down trailers, and it was just like my mind, it was just like trying to make connections, you know, and asking all these questions, and that was kind of frustrating. And I think that's what led me to decide paint farm workers, you know? Because when I started painting farm work, I was doing agricultural landscapes. I was doing more like landscapes, and the apples and the blooming and pretty things, right? And yes, I would include like here and there like farm workers, but not with that context. And the last painting I did in undergrad was called 99+1, which was about the Occupy movement and the working class and the wealthy. And I feel like I was in the right direction, but I was having trouble connecting the farm workers with it, because when I started the graduate program, I wanted to continue with that and bringing the farm workers into the equation, but for some reason it was always about the paintings. It was like, oh, your paintings are really good, or your paintings are really bad, or your proportions are off, you know, things like that. And yes, we would talk about like the working class, but it was sort of like at the end and very like limited because we have time. And then at one point I was kind of frustrated and stopped painting. And again, I was back with my brother, and he has a upholstery shop. I was helping him every winter. So anyways, he sent me to get pizza in Costco, right? And I see this banana box, and I collected, and then landed in my studio. And then during that break of me not painting, I did this banana man on this banana box, because I felt like I didn't want to have, I wanted to have a break from the pressure of painting. And I wanted to do something that would remind me how good it feels to do art, you know, which was during that period that I was in Washington, where nobody was telling me what to do. I was just drawing on cardboard. So I did this drawing, and when I showed my class the following semester, everyone liked it, because everyone just straight up started talking about, why is this banana man here on this banana box, and that just opened up conversations about the people that work in the fields, the people that collect the produce, and the companies now, because the labels were right there. And so that's when I sort of like narrow it down the concept of the work, you know, because first it was more like the working class, kind of like more broad, and now it was more about farm workers and then agribusiness. And then we talk about, I feel like we didn't even talk about technical stuff for that class. It was more about this conversation, and on top of that, like the overlaps of the ink and the colors of the boxes. It was like areas that were kind of abstract. It was kind of interesting. I remember that.
It all came together in a strange way.
Yeah. Yeah. And after that, it was just drawing some cardboard.
After that, you were like, I found it.
Yes, and then but not it wasn't that easy because I remember like
Sorry.
one of my committee members was like, let's not get too excited. We don't know how serious Narciso is with this.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess because I was also working on other materials like linen. I was doing stretching this linen.
Oh, okay.
On not on canvas, but stretching linen so I can do drawings on linen, and I don't know. And
You had other things cooking that you might go in any direction at any point.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so to me that was a key word, right? Seriousness. So after that I just started like collecting more boxes and did a bunch of portraits on boxes, and then I assembled more boxes and I did more elaborated, I guess, compositions. And yeah, after that it just, after I did sculptural things in school.
And regarding the people that you paint, is there any story in there or any story of a particular person that you've painted that you think about a lot or that hits home a lot?
Well, yeah, because I met this family when my first season working in the fields was asparagus. I was picking asparagus, and that was really hard. But I remember.
Explain a little bit how you picked this, because I remember doing onions was hard too. But
well, you have to strap a bucket on your waist, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a sharp metal knife-like, but it's really long. And asparagus grow every day. Every day you cut it.
Oh yeah, every day they get like
a
certain amount.
Yeah, you cut it every day because if you don't cut it one day, it gets too old, and the company wouldn't want it. So you have to not only spend time cutting it, but then just throw it away because you're not gonna get paid for it. And you have to cut it because you have to cut it so that the new asparagus come out. And so yeah, it's and then they grow probably like they grow tall, but like the ideal size it would be like I don't know, 8 to 10 to 12 inches. So they grow on the ground, so you have to be bent over all day and just cutting them. And then once you have a bunch in your hand, you stand up, and then with one hit you have to even them out at a certain length. Yes, like that. Yeah. And so yeah, you have to do that several times and fold it back, and then run to where the container is, and then fill it out. So yeah, and then you have to wear obviously like a hat, and like people wear goggles because when you cut the asparagus, they release like fumes, and then a lot of people become with time allergic to it, and they get like bumps. Really? So there's I remember seeing some wearing like gloves and like a huge bandana, well protected, because even the smell like makes them like sick. And but yeah, that's picking asparagus.
Wow.
But I remember like working all day, and we still have like a long line to cut. And then this family showed up. I mean, they knew already my brothers, but I didn't know them. And so they helped us out. They helped us out finish the whole thing. And I'm so grateful for that family. But that family eventually got separated, and the mom ended up raising the two kids. They had two kids, and I remember she was part of my brother's crew. And then we'll go to different orchards in different cities and just work. And because I did this several seasons, so when the kids were old enough to carry like a bucket of cherries or asparagus, they were there in the fields, man. They were speaking with us and Simon. But yeah, no, this lady, man, she was like really fast and like. And,
it's amazing, right? The line that they use, the unskilled labor.
Oh man.
And I mean, that stuff takes a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And then, they need cheap labor so they can get higher profits, and it's.
I guess it's just like the way to. I don't know, mislead people, and to make people think that it's okay that these farm workers don't get paid enough, and that they live in these under conditions that on these conditions that are really bad, or that are poorly accommodated. And I guess it makes people think that it's okay because they're unskilled. Yeah. But it's really like. It's like any other skills. Okay, we don't know how to do math, but we know how to do this. Wouldn't that sort of like equates like the balance so that we can get something like about the same amount of payment, instead of getting like almost nothing.
Yeah, it's a life dedicated to a particular field. Literally the fields.
Yeah, no, for real, that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So, how did you start to get shown and ended up in galleries and representation?
Well,
how did this turn into a career? I mean, so far we've talked about how you've done it, on your own, but now, I mean, you're a well-known artist. I mean, to a, relatively speaking, and you've been featured, you've been in big shows, and
well, I feel like we've been busy. I mean, luckily I've been busy since I was in my last semester of school, right, getting ready for the graduation show, working really hard, and then before I graduated, I got this proposal from the Long Beach Museum of Art to do a residency.
What year did you get your MFA?
2018.
Okay.
And then right after I graduated, I have this proposal for the Long Beach Museum of Art to do a residency with that would end with an exhibition at one of the galleries. So that got me another I don't know, half a year just working really hard. And then the Mexican consulate contacts me, and then we had an exhibition at the Mexican consulate, and then I think it was the Orange County Fair, which invited me to show at the fair, and all these projects, right, coming one after another. And I think at this point I was also excited about the conversations that were happening around farm workers, not only just doing art and work and showing, but also that people actually wanted to talk about these things, and that made me even more excited. The fact that I was able to speak English and in front of people and explain things that happen in the fields, that the whole combination was really exciting. And again, money was not my worries, I didn't care about spending money, even though I was not making any money. But luckily I had this grant from the Daedalus Foundation, which is based in New York. They gave me the grant right after I graduated. I think the grant was for a student who was about to graduate. And that allowed me to just work, focus on the work and going to different places, showing as much as possible. And then I got another grant from the Rima Horma Foundation after the Daedalus Foundation. So that was 2018, 2019, 2020. I think I started working with the gallery in 2021, maybe. And so yeah, they reached out through Instagram, and they asked me if I wanted to work. They asked me if I wanted to do studio visit. So they came to my studio first.
Who was this?
Charles James Gallery.
Oh, okay.
And they visited me, and they invited me to participate in a show they were having, and I did participate in the show. And then after the show, they asked me if I wanted to work with them. So I said yes, and here we are. Yeah.
So now are you constantly creating for them, or constantly creating for shows, or where does the bulk of your work that you create now go? Or
I think both.
I'm trying to understand where your life is right now, or your artistic career.
Well, yeah, they laugh at me because they make fun of me because I can't say no to projects, and I'm constantly just working, and next thing I know, I have a deadline for that show, and I just work really hard, and it's both. I think I work, and then I show them the work that I have. They also help me to understand the exhibitions, and because I can't say no to people now, every time somebody reached out for a project, I just send them to the gallery. I was because
that way they could say no, not you.
not just because of that, but I feel like now there is enough work around, in different collections, that the gallery can actually say this. We can do this exhibition, and we can reach out to the collectors and create this project, without me doing Any new work, yeah. So that's our main reason. That's the main reason. But when I find a project that is important for me, like so, like let's say like super in a agricultural town, I would just say yes, like, with no hesitation. But yeah, and I just keep creating, and yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered the question. I don't know.
Do you at this point, at any time, do you think about like future work and what you would be doing in the future, or I don't know, anything like that?
Well, I think in terms of materials, I'm always like considering new things and new experiments, but I don't think I have deviated, I guess, my ideas of working and painting about farm workers, just because I feel like farm workers have been screwed up for like, I don't know, since the beginning of history probably, but which is not right. And then to this day, I feel like there are farm workers who are struggling, and as long as farm workers are struggling, I feel like it's important to talk about this, so that it's not normal, you know.
Yeah.
And in terms of future projects, I would love to visit other agricultural towns, like in other countries, like to learn more about other products, like the banana or the coffee production, things like that. I think that's my dream.
Different companies on the cardboards and different faces on the,
exactly.
on the drawings. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Wow. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to share?
I don't know, but I guess I wanna, maybe we did talk about this, I'd like to reiterate education. I think a lot of people from our communities, sometimes we don't feel like we're capable of going to school. Even like people who have all the resources, sometimes it's just psychological. Like sometimes we don't think we can do it, maybe because we've been conditioned to that since like the colonization or whatever. But I think we are capable of achieving whatever it is that we propose ourselves. Like, and education for me is important because I know that like everything is like brought by the colonizers, right? Like even the education system, but it's like different from probably what we had before. But I feel like I feel like it's just now a tool to like get into the system and fight it, I guess. You know? Because if you don't know their tools, then how are you gonna fight them? But education, I feel like is important, you know? Yeah. And I just want people to know that, you know. That
definitely. Yeah. I mean, your story is a living proof of that. I really enjoy listening to your story, and
I wish that if somebody would have told me this before, I would probably be like in my 20s now.
Okay. There's a question that we ask everybody at the end of each show. It's a very vague question, a simple question, and you're gonna answer it any way you want. The only thing that we ask is that you try to answer in one sentence. So the question is, Narsiso Martinez, how do you do it?
With determination, courage, planning, and hard work.
Beautiful. Determination, courage, planning, and hard work. Appreciate your time so much. Thank you for coming here. And we'll see you guys next week.